Hello everyone, this is Antonio Maria, or Antonio Maria Correia, or Antonio for Made of Things. This is episode 56 of the Made of Things podcast version of the show. This is already up on YouTube. This is something that I usually do lately, which is we post keep calling them interviews, but this one kind of is an interview, but still a chat. We kind of post the video episodes first, and then leave the podcast versions till later. Which I still do, because we still decided to keep the podcast version because it enables me to speak, and because you might not want to watch videos while you're doing something else. Maybe you just want to listen to things, and iTunes is nice, and actually that's not true, but still, I'm not dissing iTunes on their own platform, but still, listening to podcasts is good. That's what I mean. So, and I enjoy it and do it very often on a daily basis. So, guys, the guest on this episode is Sampha, and Sampha is a very talented artist from the UK. He is still pretty young, has done work with a lot of people, including Subtract and plenty of people, actually, and I mentioned them later on. I'm not forgetting. I am forgetting, but because it's a list, so I mentioned them later on during the chat. So we'll leave it to that. Guys, this was lovely. Sampha was a very chill dude, but also, I wanted to do something. He was lovely. He was a lovely guy. But this isn't as high octane as other episodes of Made of Things. So the comedic value on this is not as high as, for instance, the last episode with drinks, in which it was total chaos. So and we are all up for total chaos and having fun. This was a lot of fun, but on its own terms. It's different. It's listen, this had a context. We did this at Primavera Sound in Porto, and what happened was that I sometimes, a way that I prepare to speak with people is, it's not that often. Usually I just listen to their work and get some important facts in, and then I feel it out. It's a chat. It's not looking for the truth, so it's not necessarily journalism, so it isn't really at all. It's entertainment. So, but like you find out more about people if they're I think you find out more about people having them be themselves, or artists in general making them react to questions that haven't been answered yet, or posed yet. I mean, questions that haven't been posed yet, or a joke, or some fun chat about whatever. And you kind of, this is my whole thing. Like you get a feel for the artist that is better than some just trite question, or even a good question, but a very serious one necessarily, about what they think about themselves. So, like, what do you think about your work? What do you think about yourself? What do you think about you doing this? So what do you think about, it's best to let people be themselves, and you kind of get a better feel of who they are if they're not confronted with their own image, really. Wow. I guess that's pretty well explained. Thank you. Oh, you're welcome. And we're welcome, Antonio. Thank you, Antonio. You're welcome, Antonio. Wow. What an inner dialogue I'm having. Outer dialogue, actually. What an outer monologue. I'm not even sure what this is. I can't be bothered anymore. But yeah. Okay. So Sampha, the context was that I was telling you was, I don't do this all the time, but sometimes I go and see what is available on YouTube in terms of, in this case, music interviews and interviews with certain artists, to see what I shouldn't ask. Like, okay, this has been posed, so I'm going to try to avoid going there. So, and because it's been done. So, and I don't want to do the same things as everybody else. So, I watched some Sampha stuff, like I think the Pitchfork one, and there's a few, there's like a handful, that's like immediately available on YouTube, and I checked those out, and I got the feeling that, because if you aren't aware, I got the feeling that the interviews were kind of serious and respectful, but respectfully done, but like way too serious. And this is because some very serious and unfortunate things happened to Sampha, and they're well documented, so I'm not going to might as well. Like, this dude had not an arrested development, that's not what you call it, but like his breakthrough was continuously postponed, because each time he was going like on the verge of getting out and being well known to the general public. That's what I mean. And having his work, his solo career starting, but having his solo career, I can't say this word, but like having a solo career. Thank you. You're welcome. Again, this is taking 11 left turns in the past minute. But, okay, so each time he was starting out his solo thing, he had an unfortunate passing of a close relative. And this happened more than once. And more than twice. I think it was like 3 times. So he didn't publish anything solo in 2012 or 2013 or 14 or 15. So continuously, like, had to wait until last year to put out his own album. So this is this is serious talk, and it's in very bad taste to make light of that. So far from me to do that. So I was always going to approach this respectfully, but the thing is, I was also going to try to put Sampha, first off, showing a side of Sampha that people haven't necessarily seen, at least on the YouTube interviews that I watched. It hadn't at all. Like, he was always very serious, and people were always speaking about serious subjects because they were serious. But my point with this was my goal with this was try to avoid extreme seriousness. Not only because Made of Things is supposed to be a fun show, but also because it's supposed to make artists feel better than they feel anywhere else in terms of doing what is considered promo work. So so my goal with Sampha was to like show a lighter side of him, not making any less of the serious subject, but try not to just make it all about that all the time. So we speak about that during the interview, and this is more of an interview, I can say this. So it's not so it must be really hard on the guy to really always have to speak about those really tough subjects. Like, artists at some point usually stop doing any promo or any interviews because they don't really have to at some point in their careers, and they always have to speak about it's hard talking about the passing of your parents or your sisters or your siblings, your brothers and stuff like that, like forever, even though it's there, but at some point you don't want to, I can imagine. So I can see Sampha doing that in a couple of years. So this is my foreboding, but yeah. So I didn't want to confront him with that again. So it was lovely that he spoke to us. The show, I think, is still a little, you can tell that it's the first album. When it's the first solo album, you can tell. So I think that will get really good. It's already good, but it will get really good in the next couple of years with more music and going different ways and stuff like that. So, but the end of the show, the end of the Sampha shows, are usually with Blood on Me, which is an amazing song, and the live version is really killer. So unfortunately, we don't have that on the video version of this chat, but you can find it on YouTube, I guess, illegally, on cell phones and stuff like that. Cell phones on, your iPhones and smartphones and stuff like that. So it's, I'm not explaining YouTube to you now, am I? There you go. Please subscribe on YouTube. Speaking of which, please subscribe on Made of Things if you haven't already. And if you're listening to this on YouTube, click that subscribe button, please. You'll have more fun later on, or in the future, not in 2 hours from now, maybe, if you listen to the whole thing, to the whole to the whole posted, I don't know, wow, whatever. Okay, subscribe on iTunes as well. This is where you're probably listening to this. If you're not, well, subscribe on iTunes on the podcast version, subscribe on YouTube, which has, puppetry, like it has not audio only. Again, I'm explaining YouTube to you. But yeah, there's also Instagram, and there's also which is Made of Things, and a Facebook page, which is also Made of Things, and there's all Twitter as well. If you want to. It's too much clutter, Twitter, isn't it? Like, I don't find myself ever really reading anything on Twitter, so too much, at least. Like, I'll catch a couple of things, really, but it's not like the best place to promote stuff. Maybe I don't know. The best way is to subscribe on YouTube, and you'll get all the notices and stuff like that. Just one last plug, as I've done. Excuse me again. I just ate. As I did on the last episode of Made of Things, which is Nono, my sister, has been doing the video and the photography for us at Made of Things, and she's been carrying all of the burden of doing stuff because I have back issues. So, my being at festivals isn't. First off, it's the only real thing that I've done since getting sick. So it's being at festivals, and I'm better now, so that enables me to go. So, but the thing is that I go, and because there's a press area, and I can be sat down for the most part, and just go to the interviews limping, 30 minutes in advance, and these things are set up, they just don't magically happen. So I can go to appointments, so just limp, and then don't stay too long at the venue, and haven't really watched much shows, really, or at all. I barely watched shows. So I caught the last bit of the Sampha one. I caught Simple Z's guitars because I was on the railguard, leaning, and one of my favorite bands, but I was leaning against the railguard, so I didn't have a strain on my back. So, because usually I can only stand for like 10 minutes. But yeah, so even working at the computer is a chore. Like, can't do more than an hour. So Nono does all the work, the video work, and the editing of the podcast and whatever, and I'll just give her tips and stuff like that, and has been doing, this is what I need to go back to, Nono has been doing stellar work in terms of photography. First off for herself, but it's going to be on Made of Things soon, so if you guys subscribe on the social media, well, in this case is basically Instagram and Facebook as well, but mostly Instagram. Okay, so she'll be posting that on Made of Things, but in the meantime, please go follow her on Instagram at NonoNox, which is NONO_NOXX. That is NonoNox, NONO_NOXX. Noxx. Okay, so, and her photography is really awesome. It's different. It's not your usual. It's more artsy. It's not. It has artistic purpose, not necessarily a journalistic purpose. Kind of like, no, I mean exactly like Made of Things. Okay, so it's not supposed to be journalism. We're not looking for the truth. We're looking to make things beautiful and enjoyable to you. So yes, please enjoy this chat with Sampha at Primavera Sound. He was a lovely guy, and I hope this was different than what you usually get from looking for Sampha things. And go listen to the album, it's really good. Bye bye. Sampha, how are you?
I'm okay. I'm good, thanks.
How was the show back in Primavera in Barcelona? Because you haven't played Porto yet. We were doing this beforehand.
It was lovely. It was such a beautiful festival, and Barcelona was a good vibe. Yeah.
Had you been there before?
I had. Yeah, I played there with Subtracts in like 2012.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Did you get the chance to? Because I love that festival, and this one in Porto as well. But I feel like the Barcelona one has a really cool, atmosphere. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, no, sorry.
This is rather early.
Yeah, no, it is, and it's such a lovely setting by the sea. And like even just the surroundings and the kind of weird, I don't know, stands and architecture and stuff. And obviously there's a lot of like great music.
Did you get a chance to walk around and hang out with people and stuff?
Yeah, I did. Like in Barcelona, yeah. I went the day before and I saw like Aphex and then I stayed a bit after my set. And watched like Run the Jewels and Jamie and the Flying Lotus, and it was great. It was such a good vibe, and everyone's really there to listen to the music, and it was very much about the music, and it didn't feel like it was going people were going too crazy or anything like that. It was quite nice. As Bon Iver said, it's classy.
Yeah. And there's not many people, like sometimes it happens at festivals, like people just turning with their backs turned and speaking to their friends and chatting to their friends, but it's fine, but you should be listening to the music, right?
Yeah, there wasn't so much of that really. Yeah,
it's more like a small club atmosphere in the big festival, right?
Yeah, 100%. That's a good way of putting it. Yeah.
and I just thought of this actually. I never thought of this before. Yeah. But what about Porto? Have you been Porto and Portugal? Have you been around here? Have you been in Portugal before? Because I don't recall. Maybe with Subtract you've been.
Yeah, with Subtract I've been in Lisbon when we just started off, but we did so many festivals and it was all such a new shock to me that I can't really remember it too well. And I think it was just like a day.
Oh, okay.
And I've never been to Porto before, so this is my first time here, and it's really beautiful. I'm like, oh, why haven't I not been here yet?
Okay.
Like,
will you get the chance now this time to because Primavera sometimes gives artists, sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. It depends on your tour schedule, but touring schedule. But will you have some days to hang about and stuff?
Unfortunately not. No, I'm going to have to go back to the UK to play another festival, so I won't get any.
This is starting like another leg of touring, right?
Yeah, it's like festival season essentially. So yeah, Primavera was kind of like the beginning of summer festivals for me.
For you, yeah. Okay, cool. And I would congratulate you on the record because it's fantastic, and you're welcome. And that's why we're here. but Princess Blood on Me really, I think, is very touching, and it's really immediately a standout track. Like we were listening to it for the first time. I remember like we went, ooh, well, this is good. But is that the feeling you get often? Like does that feeling of that song come to you in your regular life?
No, to be honest.
Good.
And it's not really. I kind of created that intensity in the studio. It was sort of maybe inspired by certain moments, but I don't feel necessarily that height of things.
Okay.
but it definitely was drawing from something. But no, I don't.
Luckily you don't. Because sometimes you do. Like for instance, I would say that for instance the same you would listen to that song as a listener, looking for something you would find, for instance, in horror movies, or because that feeling of discomfort. But it gives you pleasure at the same time. I would say.
Yeah, it's a bit of a weird song because I remember like listening to it in like a party bus. So we were like on the way to, got a big bus and we were playing music, and like someone started playing Blood on Me and people were like bouncing around, and I was like, and then listening to the lyrics, it was like conflicting. But yeah, it was cool.
It's sometimes that reminds me like of that. There was this kind of frequent, especially like 10 years ago, with post-punk bands that had really grim lyrics, but then were like about dancing, really.
Yeah,
it's like that conflicting.
Yeah, I guess I can see the similarities.
And they have that on the album too. Like for instance, Under has that as well. I would say. Like,
a lot of the album has that. I mean, it's just the way I wish I write lyrics sometimes, and just what I'm connecting to. So sometimes it doesn't even matter necessarily the instrumental. I'll just like write something that's maybe not what you'd expect to hear over that. And some songs are kind of at the opposite scale of what I'm singing, like Cora Sings, for instance. What I'm talking about is like the song is the instrumentation is like portraying a different kind of color to necessarily what's going on lyrically, but.
Also, when you write, you mentioned color, possibly not in the literal sense, but do you think of colors, for instance, when you're writing, like in terms of production or in terms of composition? Do you think of tones and colors and?
Yeah, definitely, and it can, I use them to like inspire me, or it will get to a place where I start to kind of feel like this is, I can definitely hear a song and think it's definitely not that color. It's definitely not that. It's definitely this color, or you know what I mean. Colors inspire me.
It's called having good taste, I would say. Like in terms of putting things together that go well with each other.
I guess like an interior designer of some sort.
I have something a little more serious now to ask you. This is usually a light-toned conversation I tend to have with artists, but your history regarding your career has been well documented and has been unfortunate in many ways. And my condolences, even though it's been a while, But you're welcome. But how has your, for instance, sense of humor been important in dealing with that? Do you feel like it's been key or something?
Humor is vital, isn't it? Really. I mean, you can't really stomach the world without humor. Otherwise. I think it's important. Sometimes it can be dangerous not to be. There's times where you do need to be serious, and you can't just laugh everything off. But without humour, I don't know what I'd do. It would just be, that's why great comedy and truth is so, they relate to each other so well, don't they? Like sometimes the most grim things can be the funniest things, or like the most awkward things can be the funniest things.
Which comedy do you enjoy, by the way?
Which comedy do I enjoy?
I'm a big comedy buff, so this is relevant.
I'm not super comedy buff or anything, but I like. Is it Sarah Silverman?
Yeah, she has a new special. Yeah,
I watched that the other day.
Really good.
And that just made me hilarious. And
she's really evolved really well, actually.
Yeah.
Thumbs up from us.
I guess Dave Chappelle.
Okay. Not the new one though, I would say.
The new one. No, it's not. It's not necessarily. It's not my. It's not. Yeah, it's not. I think.
It's kind of important to make this distinction. I would say at this point.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, sure.
There were some moments.
Sure. I would be remiss. I'm because I would actually, before going to that, I asked you about this because your music is pretty serious, it seems, and so the last thing I wanted is have like a very grim chat with you, because maybe most of your interviews are really kind of serious. Do you feel that they are? Not to
Relatively, they can get there. Sometimes they can be extremely sort of probing and stuff. You know, of which to some degree I guess I brought on myself with the music.
Well,
I wrote. So I don't get like offended. I kind of just you know.
Sometimes I like to do too many serious chats. That's what I'm asking. Like
it's nice to break it up a bit.
Yeah, cool. That's what we're here for. Yeah. So there you go. but I would be remiss to. I mean, everyone asks you about collaborations because you've collaborated with a ton of excellent people, like Jesse Ware's Subtract, Mika, who's been on the show as well. Yeah. She's awesome, and Kanye. Which Kanye did you get? Because it seems like there's plenty of them. There's plenty of them, different Kanyes.
I got a Kanye that I did not know. I guess he was kind of extremely like introverted and very patient. And he, it made me feel comfortable. And I've been a huge Kanye fan, growing up and stuff.
There's plenty of fantastic Kanye things, so
yeah. So I tend to lean on the positive side and sort of.
I'm not trying to unravel anything. I'm just asking, because sometimes it can be like more manic or more calmer.
And there was these moments where he's got an extremely kind of powerful aura. You understand what the word aura means. When you, it's like, oh, that's what it is, because kind of the way he sort of commands a room. Or
some people are like that, aren't they?
Some people just have that.
You can kind of feel them even if you're not looking at them. This person is in the room.
Definitely. So it's cool.
And this show is called Made of Things, and it's based on the idea that you've dedicated yourself to art, whatever it is you do, because you've read something or watched something or heard something or listened to something that made you go, oh, I want to do that forever. Did you have that, and what was it?
Something that made me think about. There was moments like songs I heard that made me feel like I want to write. I don't know, it might be like Rotary Connection. Like a lot of people, the first time I heard Black Gold of the Sun, the kind of psychedelic orchestral soul thing, I was flying. And then like everyone, I think probably the starting point was Michael Jackson.
Oh, sure. I got that actually yesterday with another interview. But something totally unrelated.
Yeah, when I saw like that Motown 85 and he performed Billie Jean and he does the moonwalk. Do you know what I mean? That and it was incredible. That and I was copying that, and there was something in your mind as a performer. You kind of want to, even though I'm miles away from him in that aspect of things, but maybe performance musically. I draw a lot from groove and its harmonies and just
but you still have a pretty, you're not dancing around, but you still have a pretty active live show.
And that's partly because I love watching dancers and performers and even though I'm not like a choreographed kind of guy, and I'm not as quite
yet. We know, you never know.
But I love James Brown, and I grew up kind of watching him and stuff.
Okay, awesome. Just one last thing. Where do you think you get your? Because there's subtleties in your composition, and especially there's subtleties in your composition, especially in terms of melody, like half tones and diminished things and stuff. Would you say you get that? Because it's very interesting to me. It's one of the most captivating musical aspects, I would say, of your stuff.
I don't know. Some of it is through experience, like that harmonic language starts to make sense the more I've experienced stuff. And then obviously, so it might be, it might have been from like old, Wu-Tang or like MF Doom, or just samples and stuff where you kind of hear stuff, and I don't know, growing up with Steve Reich or something. I listened to a lot of his music while I was making the album.
It's a very good reference.
And then it's just I think it's just the vibe really, or it might be John Coltrane and Miles Davis, all these people I kind of listened to while I was and that I started to understand more as well, kind of growing up and being able to I think so, you know, and even like Solange as well.
Oh yeah.
Like,
Okay.
or just lots. You know, there's so many, you know, influences that people kind of. I know. I just love like chords. I love trying to find the chords that speaks to me, and sometimes things speak to me because of, yeah, as I said, experiences. And there's a lot of, you know, I don't know why. I don't know the neuroscience necessarily as to, you know, why complex chords.
I'm not even looking for the truth, man. Just like because it's sophisticated, so and it's unusual. So I commend you on that. So there you go.
I appreciate that.
And thanks for your time, dude.
All good.
Thank you so much.
All good.
Thanks, and best of luck for the future, and have a great show tonight.
Thank you.
So
Cheers,
it was nice meeting you.
Yeah, you too.
Thank you so much. Thanks, Sampha. See you next time.
Thank you. Looking super forward to the show.
Yeah. We love the record. It's really awesome. Cheers, man.